What if that cup of coffee you cherish every morning, the one you believe is giving you a gentle lift, is actually failing you at a fundamental level? What if, instead of just waking you up, it could be a powerful tool to rebuild the very muscle you're losing year after year? Yet the way most of us drink it, it does almost nothing to stop the slow, silent theft of our strength. This isn't just about feeling a little more energetic. This is about the freedom to live life on your own terms. It's about the strength to lift your grandchild, the stability to climb stairs without fear, and the independence to never have to rely on someone else for simple daily tasks. The difference between a future of vitality and one of decline could be hiding in plain sight, right there in your coffee mug. We're going to count down the 8 best additions you can make to your morning coffee. But I need you to promise me you'll stay until the end, because the addition at number 3 has been shown in a rigorous, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial to reduce joint pain by a staggering 43% and improve mobility by 39%. And the number 1 addition is the master key that unlocks your body's ability to build new muscle, even after 60. The science is clear. What you put in your coffee matters more than the coffee itself. In fact, one large-scale study published in the journal Frontiers in Nutrition found that people who drank coffee every day had between 11 and 13% higher muscle mass than those who didn't. So the foundation is there. Your daily habit is a good one, but today, we're going to turn that good habit into your most powerful weapon against age-related decline. Welcome. I'm so glad you've chosen to invest this time in yourself. My goal here is simple: to be your coach and your guide, translating the often confusing world of health science into practical, real-world strategies that can genuinely change the trajectory of your health. We're in this journey together. And today, that journey starts with your morning coffee. A quick reminder, this video is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen, especially if you have any pre-existing conditions or are taking medication. In the next few minutes, we're going to start our countdown from number 8. Revealing the simple, science-backed ingredients that can transform your daily ritual. We'll build our way up to the most powerful, evidence-based additions that can have a profound impact on your strength, your joints, and your mind. Let's get started. Coming in at number 8 on our list is an ingredient that doesn't build muscle directly, but it creates the ideal environment for your mind and body to thrive. It's L-Theanine. The problem it solves is one many of us know all too well: the coffee jitters. That feeling of being simultaneously energized and anxious, your mind racing but unable to focus. It's the dark side of caffeine, and for many, it makes that second cup feel like a bad idea. Take the story of Maria, a 71-year-old retired librarian. Maria has loved her morning coffee ritual for 50 years. It's the quiet moment before the day begins, the smell, the warmth. But lately, that ritual had been turning on her. Instead of feeling alert and ready for her day of volunteer work at the local school, she'd feel a wave of anxiety wash over her. Her hands would feel a little shaky, her thoughts scattered. She was getting the energy, but it was a chaotic, unproductive energy that left her feeling drained by noon. She was on the verge of giving up her cherished morning cup, feeling like her own body was betraying a lifelong pleasure. What Maria was experiencing is the direct effect of caffeine on the central nervous system. But what she didn't know is that nature provides a perfect partner for caffeine, an amino acid found primarily in green tea leaves called L-Theanine. The science is fascinating. L-Theanine works by increasing alpha brainwave activity. Think of alpha waves as your brain's calm focus frequency. It's the state you're in when you're deeply engrossed in a good book or listening to music. You're relaxed, but highly alert. When you combine L-Theanine with caffeine, you get the best of both worlds, the alertness and energy from the caffeine without the anxiety and jitters. It's a synergistic relationship. One study found that taking L-Theanine helped people react faster, make fewer mistakes, and perform better on attention and memory tasks. Another review of multiple studies found that a combination of about 200 milligrams of L-Theanine with 100 milligrams of caffeine, roughly the amount in one strong cup of coffee, was particularly effective at improving both speed and accuracy on cognitively demanding tasks. It smooths out the rough edges of caffeine, giving you a clean, focused energy. Now, for the sake of complete transparency, which is something we are committed to, it's important to note that one study focusing specifically on adults aged 55 and older did not find a statistically significant improvement. However, the researchers themselves suggested a reason for this. Our bodies tend to absorb nutrients more slowly as we age. They hypothesized that a longer waiting period might have been needed to see the full effect. This nuance doesn't invalidate the other powerful research. It just reminds us that our bodies are unique and may respond on a different timeline. So, how do you use it? The most effective dose is typically a 2-to-1 ratio with caffeine. For a standard cup of coffee containing about 100 milligrams of caffeine, you would add 200 milligrams of L-Theanine. It's readily available as a flavorless powder that dissolves easily, or you can simply open a capsule and stir it in. For Maria, this was a game changer. She started adding 200 milligrams of L-Theanine powder to her morning coffee, and the change was almost immediate. The familiar warmth and energy returned, but the anxiety was gone. In its place was a calm, clear-headed focus that lasted well into the afternoon. She was back to enjoying her ritual, and more importantly, she was back to feeling in control. At number 7, we have an addition that targets one of the most feared aspects of aging, the loss of mental sharpness. We're talking about MCT oil. The problem it addresses is that subtle, creeping brain fog. It's the frustration of walking into a room and forgetting why you're there, the struggle to find the right word in a conversation, or the feeling that your thinking is just a bit slower than it used to be. It's a deeply unsettling experience that can make you question your own mind. Consider Robert, a 68-year-old retired history teacher. Robert's identity was built on his sharp mind and his ability to recall dates, names, and complex events. But in recent years, he'd felt that part of himself slipping away. He'd lose his train of thought mid-sentence or struggle to remember the name of a former student he'd known for years. He worried constantly, seeing it as the first step on a path he didn't want to walk. He felt like the lights in the library of his mind were slowly dimming. What Robert was likely experiencing is a common age-related phenomenon. As we get older, our brain cells can become less efficient at using their primary fuel source, glucose. It's like having a car engine that can no longer properly use gasoline. This is where MCT oil comes in. MCT stands for medium-chain triglycerides, a unique type of fat found in coconut oil. The science behind it is both simple and profound. Unlike longer-chain fats, MCTs are rapidly absorbed and sent directly to the liver, where they can be converted into an alternative fuel source called ketones. These ketones can cross the blood-brain barrier and provide a clean, efficient energy source for your brain cells, completely bypassing the faulty glucose metabolism. It's like giving your brain a high-octane backup generator when the main power grid is failing. The research in this area is incredibly promising, especially for those already experiencing cognitive challenges. One randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study on subjects with mild cognitive impairment found that just 6 weeks of MCT supplementation improved verbal fluency scores. Even more remarkably, A follow-up analysis of the same study revealed that MCT oil consumption led to a 59% higher connectivity in the dorsal attention network of the brain, a key network for focus and attention. It was literally rewiring the brain for better performance. For those with more advanced cognitive decline, other studies have shown that MCTs can increase total brain energy metabolism and lead to significant improvements in memory tests. So how do you incorporate this into your coffee? The key is to start slow. MCT oil can cause digestive upset if you take too much too soon. Begin with just 1 teaspoon stirred into your coffee. You can gradually work your way up to 1 tablespoon over a couple of weeks. When buying, look for a product that is primarily C8 and C10 MCTs, as these are the most effective at producing ketones. Robert decided to give it a try. He started with a single teaspoon in his morning brew. Within a few weeks, he noticed a difference. The fog began to lift. Words came more easily, and his recall felt sharper. It wasn't a miracle cure, but it was a tangible improvement. He felt like someone had turned up the dimmer switch in his mind. And for the first time in years, he felt a renewed sense of hope and control over his cognitive health. Our number 6 addition is a common spice that holds an uncommon power for your muscles and circulation: unsweetened cocoa powder. The problem it solves is the frustratingly slow recovery that can plague us as we age. You do some gardening or play with the grandkids, and instead of a little healthy soreness the next day, you feel stiff and achy for 2 or 3 days. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a barrier. It makes you hesitant to be active, creating a vicious cycle of inactivity and decline. Let's talk about Diane, a 65-year-old who has always loved her long walks and yoga classes. But recently, she found her recovery times were dragging out. The muscle soreness that used to be a satisfying reminder of a good workout now felt like a punishment that lingered for days. She was starting to dread her favorite activities, fearing the prolonged discomfort that would follow. Her body just wasn't bouncing back the way it used to, and it was stealing her joy. The common assumption is that cocoa is beneficial simply because it's packed with antioxidants. And while that's true, the real magic for muscle recovery lies in a much more direct mechanism: its effect on your blood flow. Unsweetened cocoa is rich in compounds called flavonols. These flavonols trigger your body to produce more nitric oxide, a molecule that acts as a potent vasodilator. This means it relaxes and widens your blood vessels. The scientific implication of this is enormous. A study published in the journal Nutrients looked specifically at older adults and found that consuming cocoa flavonols significantly potentiated the increase in microvascular blood volume in their leg muscles after a nutritional supplement. Another study found that acute cocoa flavonol supplementation improves muscle macro and microvascular responses to nutrition in older men. Think of it this way: your blood vessels are the highways that deliver oxygen and nutrients to your muscles and carry away metabolic waste. As we age, these highways can become narrow and congested. Cocoa flavonols act like a construction crew, widening the lanes and improving traffic flow. This enhanced circulation means your muscles get more of the good stuff they need to repair and rebuild, and the waste products that cause soreness are cleared out more efficiently. This is why it's a game changer for recovery. So how do you use it? This is critical. You must use unsweetened, non-Dutched or non-alkalized cocoa powder. The Dutching process, which reduces acidity, unfortunately destroys a significant portion of the beneficial flavonols. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons to your coffee. It'll give it a rich, mocha-like flavor without any added sugar. Diane started adding a heaping tablespoon of non-Dutched cocoa to her coffee every morning. The difference wasn't overnight, but after a few weeks, she noticed her recovery from yoga was faster. The deep, lingering aches started to subside, replaced by a more manageable, short-lived soreness. She felt like she had given her body's internal repair crew the support it needed to do its job properly. She was no longer afraid to push herself a little, knowing her body could handle the recovery. Now we arrive at number 5, an ancient spice that is one of the most powerful metabolic regulators you can add to your cup: Ceylon cinnamon. The problem it addresses is twofold: the unstable energy that leads to afternoon crashes and the creeping threat of insulin resistance, a condition that quietly paves the way for a host of age-related diseases. It's the feeling of being on an energy roller coaster and the worry that comes with seeing your blood sugar numbers slowly ticking upward at every doctor's visit. This was John's reality. At 69, John was a man of routine, but his energy was anything but routine. He'd feel great after his morning coffee, but by 2 p.m., he'd hit a wall. A wave of fatigue would wash over him, so powerful he'd often have to nap, waking up groggy and feeling like half the day was wasted. His doctor had also recently warned him that his fasting glucose was in the pre-diabetic range, a wake-up call that filled him with a sense of dread. He felt like his body's energy management system was broken. Before we dive into the modern science, it's worth noting that cinnamon has been prized as a medicine for thousands of years. Ancient Egyptians used it for embalming, and it's been a cornerstone of Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine for everything from digestive ailments to colds since as early as 2800 BC. Cinnamon has been prized as a medicine for thousands of years. The core of cinnamon's power lies in its ability to improve how our bodies handle glucose. As we age, our muscle cells can become resistant to the signal of insulin, the hormone that tells them to absorb glucose from the blood for energy. This is insulin resistance. Research has shown that compounds in cinnamon can significantly enhance insulin signaling in skeletal muscle. It helps activate a critical transporter called GLUT4, which acts like a gate, allowing glucose to move from the bloodstream into the muscle cells where it can be used for fuel. By improving this process, cinnamon helps stabilize blood sugar levels, preventing the sharp spikes and subsequent crashes that cause energy instability. A recent umbrella review of multiple meta-analyses confirmed that cinnamon consumption has favorable effects on blood pressure and key inflammatory markers like interleukin-6. Now, for the most important part of this section, the how-to. Not all cinnamon is created equal. The vast majority of cinnamon sold in supermarkets is cassia cinnamon. While it has some benefits, it also contains a compound called coumarin in relatively high amounts. The type you want is Ceylon cinnamon, often called true cinnamon. It has ultra-low levels of coumarin, making it much safer for regular use. It's lighter in color and has a more delicate, complex flavor. The recommended dose is about half a teaspoon to 1 full teaspoon stirred into your coffee. John made the switch. He sought out Ceylon cinnamon and began adding half a teaspoon to his coffee grinder, along with his beans each morning. The 2 p.m. crash didn't disappear overnight, but it became less and less frequent. He felt a more stable, sustained energy throughout the day. At his next checkup, 6 months later, his fasting glucose had dropped back into the healthy range. He felt like he had finally gotten off the energy roller coaster and was back in the driver's seat of his own metabolism. If you're finding this information valuable, if these stories and the science behind them are resonating with you, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a small action that makes a huge difference. It tells us that this content matters to you, and it helps us continue our mission of bringing clear, evidence-based health strategies to our incredible community of viewers over 60. We've still got the top 4 heavy hitters to go, and believe me, you don't want to miss them. All right, let's get into our top 4 with an ingredient that is perhaps the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory on the planet. Number 4 is turmeric, with a crucial addition. The problem it so powerfully addresses is the chronic, grinding joint pain and stiffness of arthritis. That can steal your passions and shrink your world. It's the pain that turns a beloved hobby like gardening into an ordeal, or a simple walk into a challenge. It's a constant, unwelcome companion that limits your life. This was the case for Eleanor, 74. Her garden was her sanctuary. For decades, the simple act of tending to her roses and tomatoes was her therapy and her joy. But in the last few years, osteoarthritis in her hands and knees had turned that joy into pain. Kneeling was agony, and her fingers were often too stiff and swollen to properly handle her tools. Her sanctuary was becoming a source of frustration and sadness. She was watching a piece of her identity wither away, just like her untended plants. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, is a biological powerhouse. Its primary mechanism is its profound anti-inflammatory effect. It works by influencing key inflammatory pathways in the body, like NF-kappa B, which is a master regulator of the inflammatory response. By calming this chronic inflammation, curcumin can directly reduce the pain and swelling associated with arthritis. Many studies have shown it to be as effective as some over-the-counter pain relievers for osteoarthritis pain, but without the side effects. But here is the unexpected and truly exciting part for our purposes today. The benefits of turmeric go beyond just pain relief. Chronic inflammation doesn't just hurt your joints, it creates a catabolic environment in your body, meaning it actively encourages muscle breakdown. By reducing that inflammation, you're not just easing pain. You're shifting your body away from a state of breakdown and towards a state of building. And the research confirms this. In a remarkable randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind clinical trial conducted on elderly individuals with sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, participants who received 500 milligrams of a curcumin supplement daily for 3 months saw incredible results. They experienced a 1.43% increase in hand grip strength, and most impressively, a 6.08% increase in weightlifting strength compared to the placebo group. This reframes turmeric entirely. It's not just a painkiller, it's a performance enhancer for seniors, helping to create the right internal environment for strength to flourish. Now for the critical how-to. Curcumin on its own is very poorly absorbed by the body. To unlock its benefits, you must combine it with black pepper. A compound in black pepper called piperine can increase the bioavailability of curcumin by as much as 2,000%. Simply add about half a teaspoon of turmeric powder and a small pinch of ground black pepper to your coffee. The coffee's fats will also help with absorption. Eleanor started her new ritual, a golden latte version of her morning coffee with turmeric and a crack of black pepper. The relief in her joints was gradual but steady. The morning stiffness lessened, and the sharp pains began to dull. But what truly surprised her was a returning sense of strength in her hands and legs. She found herself able to kneel on her padded board for longer periods. Her grip on the trowel felt stronger. Slowly but surely, she was reclaiming her garden. Turmeric didn't just give her pain relief, it gave her back her passion. We've now reached the top 3, and this is where the benefits become truly transformative. Coming in at number 3 is an ingredient that rebuilds your body's entire support structure: collagen peptides. The problem here is deeper than just muscle weakness. It's the degradation of the body's scaffolding, the tendons, ligaments, cartilage, and joints that our muscles rely on to function. You can have the strongest muscles in the world, but if the ropes and pulleys they connect to are frayed and weak, that strength is useless. It's the deep, aching joint pain that stops you in your tracks, not a lack of muscle power. Think of Frank, a proud 72-year-old grandfather. His grandson Leo is 5 years old and at that perfect age for being picked up and swung around. But Frank couldn't do it anymore. It wasn't that his arm and back muscles weren't strong enough. They were. It was the sharp, grinding pain in his shoulder and knee joints that made lifting anything more than 10 pounds impossible. He felt a profound sense of loss, a disconnection from the simple joys of being a grandfather, all because his framework was failing him. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the human body. It is literally the glue that holds you together, forming the structural matrix of your skin, bones, and all of your connective tissues. As we age, our natural collagen production plummets. Supplementing with collagen peptides provides your body with the specific building blocks it needs to repair and fortify this critical framework. Now, let's get to the science, because the results from clinical trials are nothing short of astounding. In a landmark double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial published in 2018, 120 subjects took a daily collagen supplement for 90 days. The results were staggering. Compared to the placebo group, those taking collagen experienced an average reduction in joint pain of 43% and an improvement in joint mobility of 39%. Another study found that daily collagen peptide consumption over several months improved outcomes in activities of daily living and reduced pain in active adults. At this point, you might be thinking of a common myth you've heard. Doesn't your stomach just digest collagen like any other protein? This is a perfect time for a mythbuster. While it's true that collagen is broken down, it's not just treated like a piece of steak. It's broken down into specific small chains of amino acids called peptides. These peptides are absorbed into the bloodstream and act as signaling molecules. They travel to cells in your connective tissues, like chondrocytes in your cartilage, and essentially send a message. Hey, it's time to build more collagen. So it's not just providing raw materials, it's actively stimulating your body's own repair mechanisms. The how-to is straightforward. You want to look for hydrolyzed collagen peptides, sometimes called collagen hydrolysate. This means the collagen has already been broken down into smaller, more easily absorbable peptides. A clinically effective dose is between 10 and 20 grams per day. It's virtually tasteless and dissolves completely in hot coffee. Frank began adding a 15-gram scoop of collagen peptides to his coffee every morning. For the first month, he noticed little, but in the second month, the constant deep ache in his shoulder began to subside. By the end of the third month, the change was undeniable. The sharp, prohibitive pain was gone, replaced by a manageable stiffness that improved with movement. One afternoon, Leo ran up to him with his arms outstretched. Without thinking, Frank leaned down, scooped him up, and lifted him high into the air. There was no pain. In that moment, collagen didn't just rebuild his joints, it rebuilt his connection to his grandson. At number 2, we have the single most studied and validated supplement for increasing raw strength and power on the planet: creatine monohydrate. The problem it solves is the loss of explosive functional strength. This isn't about bodybuilding, it's about the power you need for everyday life. It's the strength to get up out of a low chair without using your hands, to carry a heavy bag of groceries from the car in one trip, or to quickly catch your balance to prevent a fall. It's the loss of this quick strength that often leads to a loss of confidence and independence. Let's talk about George, 76. George had always been a strong, capable man, but lately, simple tasks had become monumental efforts. The worst was the groceries. He'd have to make 4 or 5 trips from the car, carrying only 1 or 2 light bags at a time. He once tried to carry a case of water and nearly dropped it, his muscles just giving out. It was embarrassing and, frankly, scary. He felt his physical power, a core part of his identity, draining away. The science of creatine is beautifully simple. Your muscles use a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, for immediate energy. When you perform a quick, powerful movement, like standing up or lifting something heavy, your muscles use ATP. The problem is, you only have a few seconds worth stored up. Creatine works by helping your body rapidly regenerate ATP. It donates a phosphate molecule to the used-up ADP, adenosine diphosphate, turning it back into high-energy ATP. Having more creatine in your muscles is like having a bigger, faster-charging battery for your explosive movements. It allows you to push harder for longer, which directly translates to building more strength and muscle over time. The evidence for older adults is overwhelming. A major meta-analysis of multiple studies concluded that when older adults combine creatine supplementation with resistance training, they gain an average of 1.35 kilograms. That's nearly 3 pounds of pure fat-free lean body mass, more than those doing the exact same training without it. It is one of the most effective tools we have to counteract age-related declines in both skeletal muscle and bone mineral density. But now we have to address the elephant in the room. The biggest myth, the one that has likely stopped millions of coffee drinkers from using this incredible supplement. The idea that caffeine cancels out creatine. For years, this has been accepted as fact, based on 1 or 2 older small studies with questionable methodologies. It's time to bust this myth for good with modern science. First, a 2015 review of the research found no pharmacokinetic interactions between the two. That means caffeine does not stop creatine from being absorbed or from reaching your muscles and increasing your phosphocreatine stores. Second, the concern often cited by places like the Mayo Clinic is related to very high doses of caffeine, over 300 milligrams, and a potential worsening of Parkinson's disease progression, which is a very specific context and not a general contraindication. Third, and perhaps most tellingly, some of the earliest studies that showed creatine worked had participants mix the powder into hot coffee or tea, and it still produced significant benefits. The evidence clearly shows that for the vast majority of people, a normal cup of coffee will not negate the benefits of creatine. The only potential downside reported in some studies is a slightly higher chance of mild digestive discomfort when taking them at the exact same time. The how-to is simple. You need 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate per day. It's the most studied, effective, and cheapest form. Ignore the complicated loading phases you might read about. They are unnecessary. Just take your 3 to 5 grams consistently every day. It's a fine, tasteless powder that will dissolve easily in your coffee. George, skeptical but hopeful, started adding a 5-gram scoop to his morning coffee. He also committed to a simple body weight strength routine 3 times a week. The first few weeks, he felt a little more energy in his workouts. But the real change came about 2 months in. He went to the grocery store, and on his way out, he picked up the case of water without a second thought. He walked it to his car, loaded it in, and only then did he realize what he had just done. It was a small victory, but to George, it felt monumental. He had taken back a piece of his strength, a piece of his independence. And that brings us to the #1 best coffee addition for seniors to rebuild muscle and fight age-related decline, the Master Builder, the ingredient that provides the single most critical signal your body needs to overcome the primary obstacle to staying strong as you age. The #1 addition is whey protein isolate. The problem it solves is the most fundamental one we face: anabolic resistance. As we age, our muscles become less responsive to the stimuli that once made them grow easily, like exercise and protein intake. It's the reason why you can stay active, eat what you think is a healthy diet, and still see your muscle mass slowly disappear. It's a deeply frustrating feeling that your efforts are no longer producing results. This was Barbara's struggle. At 67, she was more active than most people half her age. She walked every day, did strength classes twice a week, and was diligent about her diet. Yet, she could see and feel herself getting weaker. Her arms were getting thinner, her grip wasn't as strong, and she was losing the toned look she had worked so hard to maintain. She felt betrayed by her own body, like she was fighting a losing battle against an invisible force. That invisible force, anabolic resistance, has a specific biological cause. Muscle protein synthesis, the process of building new muscle, is initiated by a master switch amino acid called leucine. Leucine acts as the primary trigger that tells your muscle cells to start the building process. In younger individuals, this switch is very sensitive. In older adults, due to anabolic resistance, the switch becomes stuck. It requires a much stronger, more concentrated dose of leucine to flip it on. This is where most dietary protein sources fail. While they contain leucine, it's often not in a high enough concentration or absorbed quickly enough to overcome that resistance. This is what makes whey protein uniquely powerful. Whey protein, a byproduct of cheesemaking, has the highest concentration of leucine of any protein source on Earth. It is also incredibly fast digesting, meaning that leucine hits your bloodstream and your muscles quickly, providing the strong, rapid signal needed to jolt that stuck switch into the on position. The scientific evidence comparing whey to other proteins is definitive. One study on older adults directly compared the muscle-building response after consuming whey protein versus soy protein. The results were stunning. 20 grams of whey protein stimulated muscle protein synthesis more effectively than a full 40 grams of soy protein. You needed double the amount of soy to get a lesser effect. This is the power of the leucine trigger. The scientific consensus now strongly recommends that older adults consume between 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day to effectively combat sarcopenia, a significant increase from the old recommendations. A scoop of whey protein in your coffee is the single easiest and most effective way to help you reach that target and ensure you're getting the master trigger, leucine. For the how-to, look for a whey protein isolate. The isolate form has been filtered to remove most of the lactose and fat, making it easier to digest and lower in calories. One scoop typically provides 20 to 25 grams of high-quality protein. A pro tip for mixing: put the powder in your mug first, then pour a small amount of coffee in and stir it into a paste before filling the rest of the cup. This prevents clumping. Barbara added 1 scoop of vanilla-flavored whey protein isolate to her coffee every morning. It turned her simple coffee into a creamy, satisfying, protein-packed drink. Combined with her regular exercise, the effect over the next 6 months was profound. The slow decline stopped. Then it reversed. She could see definition returning to her arms. She could lift heavier weights in her class. She felt a deep, cellular sense of strength returning. She wasn't just fighting the battle anymore, she was winning it. She had found the master key to unlock her body's own potential to be strong again. We've covered an immense amount of information today, and I want to distill it all down into a simple, actionable plan. Because knowledge is only powerful when we use it. Think of these additions not as separate ingredients, but as tools you can combine into personalized stacks based on your primary goals. If your main concern is joint pain and mobility, your daily priority should be the Joint Guardian Stack. 1 scoop of collagen peptides for the structural repair, combined with half a teaspoon of turmeric and a pinch of black pepper to fight the underlying inflammation. If your #1 goal is to build maximum strength and lean muscle, you'll want the Maximum Strength Stack. 1 scoop of whey protein isolate to trigger muscle protein synthesis, combined with 5 grams of creatine monohydrate to power your muscles. And if you feel that brain fog is your biggest enemy and you want to reclaim your mental sharpness, focus on the Cognitive Vitality Stack. 1 tablespoon of MCT oil to provide ketone fuel for your brain, combined with 200 milligrams of L-Theanine for that calm, clear-headed focus. You can mix and match, but starting with a focused goal can make it feel much more manageable. The message I want to leave you with today is one of profound empowerment. The narrative that aging must equal a steady, irreversible decline into weakness and frailty is a myth. It is a story we are told, but it is not a story we have to accept. Your body is not a machine with parts that are destined to fail on a preset schedule. It is a dynamic, adaptable organism that is constantly responding to the signals you send it. The ache in your joints, the loss of strength, the fog in your mind, these are not final verdicts. They're signals. They're your body's way of asking for different building blocks, for better fuel, for a stronger defense against inflammation. And as we've seen today, you have the power to provide those things, starting with something as simple and as comforting as your morning cup of coffee. You are the architect of your own health. You hold the power to lay a new foundation, to reinforce the walls, and to ensure the house you live in remains strong, resilient, and vital for all the years to come. Now, I want to hear from you. This is where the real work begins. Of all these additions and all the stories we share today, which one resonated with you the most? And more importantly, what is the first combination, the first stack, that you are excited to try in your coffee tomorrow morning? Share your personal plan in the comments below. Committing to it publicly and reading the plans of others in this community is a powerful step toward making it a reality. Thank you for investing your time today in understanding the science of rebuilding strength and vitality. Remember, this journey is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with yourself, celebrate the small wins, and keep moving forward, one stronger day at a time. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.